In this video, we will walk you through the basic structure of graphs we commonly encounter in IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. In Academic Writing Task 1, there are 6 main graphs or diagrams that you would probably encounter in your test. It can be a line graph, a bar graph, a pie chart, a table, a process diagram, and a map diagram. So familiarizing yourself with these graphs will help you out in getting a Band 9 report. Going further, we have to review the band descriptors in detail. We have to consider the following to get a Band 9. Firstly, task achievement. This criterion assesses how appropriately, accurately, and relevantly the response fulfills the requirements set out in the task using the minimum of 150 words. Academic Writing Task 1 is basically an information transfer task which relates narrowly to the factual content of the input data or diagram and not to speculate explanations that lie outside the provided diagram or data. Here, you have to select and report the main features, make comparison, and provide a clear overview. For cohesion and coherence, this criterion is concerned with the overall clarity and fluency of the message, how the response is organized and links information, ideas, and language. Coherence refers to the linking of ideas through logical sequencing. Cohesion refers to the varied and appropriate use of cohesive devices to assist in making the conceptual and referential relationships between and within sentences clear. For lexical resource, this criterion refers to the range of vocabulary the candidate has used and the accuracy and appropriacy used in terms of the specific task. Words, range and flexibility, level, precision, style, collocation. Vocabulary mistakes, spelling, word choice, word formation. Lastly, grammatical range and accuracy. This criterion refers to the range and accurate use of the candidate's grammatical resource as manifested in the candidate's writing at the sentence level. The examiner has the following questions in mind when assessing this aspect of your report. First, have you used a variety of sentence structures? Second, how often have you used complex structures? And last, mistakes in grammar and in punctuation marks. In IELTS Writing Task 1, you are only given 20 minutes to write your report and you have to write at least 150 words. Your task here is to summarize the information by selecting main features and making comparisons. In this lesson, however, we will focus on writing a Band 9 structure. We have divided the lesson into 2 major categories, starting with the structure of static graphs, followed by the structures of dynamic graphs. Now, before we head to the first part, let's review our Band 9 structure for IELTS Writing Task 1. The complete report is in 4 paragraphs: Introduction, Overview, Body Paragraph 1, and Body Paragraph 2. Structures of static graphs. Well, first off, static graphs are also called fixed charts because they have a fixed time or no time referred to, so it mainly focuses on the largest or the smallest features or any similarity. Let's start with writing an introduction. The introduction should describe the purpose of the chart. What to write in the introduction? You just have to paraphrase the given question statement of the graph. Paraphrase means you have to reword the sentence without changing the thought or its meaning. You can paraphrase it using several ways, starting with the use of synonyms, changing the form of the words and the structure of the sentence, or a combination of these ways. Let's look at these 2 examples. The chart below shows the different levels of post-school qualifications in Australia and the proportion of men and women who held them in 1999. The chart below illustrates the different stages of post-school requirements in Australia and the percentage of male and female who held them in 1999. In the sentence, we have to remove the word below since we will not have the given graph when we write a report in the official test. And we change the word shows to illustrates, the word levels to stages, the word qualifications to requirements, the word proportion to percentage, and lastly the phrase men and women to male and female. You notice that in this way, we did not exactly copy the heading. We simply paraphrase it using synonyms. However, you have to be careful in using synonyms as not all words can be easily changed into similar words. So it's okay to copy some, but not more than 2 words in a row. Let's go over an example with the use of changing the word form. The chart below shows the different levels of post-school qualifications in Australia and the proportion of men and women who held them in 1999. The chart illustrates the difference in levels of post-school qualifications in Australia and the men and women's proportion that held them in 1999. Notice that in the second sentence, the adjective different is changed to its noun form difference. Also, the phrase men and women, which was used as a noun in the original sentence, was used as an adjective in the second sentence. Then, we change the word who to that for the same reason. Let's proceed to paraphrasing, changing the sentence structure. The chart below shows the different levels of post-school qualifications in Australia and the proportion of men and women who held them in 1999. The chart shows the proportion of men and women who held different levels of qualifications of post-school in Australia in 1999. In this example, we move the phrase proportion of men and women in the beginning of the sentence and specify the word them to post-school qualifications. This way, the sentence structure changed, but we retained the meaning of the original sentence. This is also an example of combining the earlier strategies. The chart below shows the different levels of post-school qualifications in Australia and the proportion of men and women who held them in 1999. The chart gives information about post-school qualifications in terms of the different levels of further education reached by men and women in Australia in 1999. This example is a combination of all the 3 ways of paraphrasing. You can use any of these strategies. You will be awarded 9 in your task achievement if you can successfully paraphrase. Let's take a look at more examples. Look at a pie chart. The pie chart shows the amount of money that a children's charity located in the USA received in 1 year. The pie chart illustrates the percentage of revenue over a year of a children's charity in the USA. In this example, we made use of synonyms. Now, in the given table, the table illustrates the proportion of monthly household income in 5 European countries spent on food and drink, housing, clothing, and entertainment. The table shows the amount of household income that 5 countries in Europe spend per month on 4 items. We made use of synonyms and changed the sentence structure. To help you write an introduction, here are some phrases you can use to start writing one. The table shows changes in. The table gives information about. The bar graph compares. The graph illustrates. The chart shows data about. The pie charts compare. The diagram shows the process of. The figure shows how is produced. The line graph shows changes in. the line graph compares. Additionally, these are simple changes that you can make to avoid copying the heading of the graph. Graph, line graph, chart, bar chart. Diagram, figure. Shows, illustrates, compares. Proportion, percentage. Information, data. The number of, the figure for, the proportion of. From 1999 to 2009. Between 1999 and 2009. Over a period of 10 years. In 3 countries, in the UK, France, and Spain. Before we start with our discussion of the overview, let's review our band descriptor that emphasizes this part. Under Task Achievement, you will be awarded Band 5 if you do not have an overview. You will get 6 if you have an overview, and a 7 if you have a clear overview. This only means that this part of our report is important. Now, up to the question on where to write the overview, well, it can be after the introduction or after your body paragraphs. However, I suggest that since the flow of our report is from general to specific, it is most logical to put it after the introduction. Going further, what to do in writing an overview? First, study the graph and look for 2 things to write a clear overview. Include the highest and the lowest figures in the graph, but do not add specific details, and identify the given period, the month or year if there is any. We have some phrases we can use to start our overview. Overall, in general, generally, it can be clearly seen that, it is evident that, overall, it is clear that, overall, it is noticeable that, it can clearly be seen that. Let's put that to practice, starting with bar graph. If you check the bar graph, again, we have to identify the highest and the lowest. So in this chart, the first thing you will notice is the proportion of men in skilled vocational diploma, and the last 2 categories is higher than women, while women outnumbered men in undergraduate diploma. So we can write this overview for this graph. Overall, there were substantial differences in the proportion of men and women at different levels. More men than women hold qualifications at the lower and higher levels of education, while more women reach undergraduate diploma level than men in 1999. In this pie graph, it is noticeable that our overview should focus on the biggest chunk and the least. Generally, it can be seen that donated food accounted for the majority of the income, while government grants and investment income are the least. For the table, we have to look at it as a whole. You will see that bigger numbers can be found under food and drink and housing, and less for clothing and entertainment. So this is an overview for this table. In general, it is evident that all 5 countries spend the majority of their income on food and drink and housing, but much less on clothing and entertainment. Although it is uncommon to encounter a static line graph in writing task 1, we still have to check this example. It would be easy as you will only look at the highest and the lowest. It can clearly be seen that students who are older accounted for the majority of donations among the given age group, whereas the youngest one donated the least. Moving on to the body paragraphs, the body is where you will write the detailed description of your overview. Here, you are being tested on organization and use of paragraph. So you have to write logically, and it should be easy for the reader or the rater to follow. Let's check our band descriptor focusing on this part. Under cohesion and coherence, you will get a band 7 if you can logically organize the information and there is a clear progression. You will be awarded band 8 if you can use paragraphing sufficiently and appropriately and write logically and manage all aspects of cohesion. On top of that, you can get a band 9 if you can skillfully manage paragraphing and uses cohesion that does not attract attention. There are some things to consider when writing body paragraphs. Divide your body paragraph into 2 body paragraphs. Write about the first feature described in your overview in body 1. Write about the second feature described in your overview in body 2. Make comparison, include numbers or figures. Additionally, in writing your comparison, you need to give the data or the figures. If your detail is not supported by data, you will get 5 in your task achievement. So it only means that you have to support your sentence with numbers to get a band 9. However, please note that you cannot use long lists of numbers as it will confuse the reader. Do not worry, if you do not know how to do it, just watch our video on incorporating data for some useful ways on how to do so. Here are some phrases to start your body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. First body, according to, as shown in the chart, as can be seen in the chart, it can be seen from the chart, we can see from the chart, it is clear or apparent from the chart, beginning with the, to begin with the, let me begin by describing the, to begin or start with, in, year or month. Second body, in terms of, turning to, conversely, regarding. It is also worth pointing that, it is also noticeable that. Since the overview for static graph focus on the highest and lowest figures in the graph, the body paragraph follows. The first paragraph can describe the highest and the lowest, and the second paragraph can describe the second highest and similar figures or categories. Let's take a look at these examples. For pie graph, we can group out data in this way. In body 1, this will describe the donated food and government grants and investment income, as these are the highest and the lowest. Body 2 will be about community contribution and program revenue and other income, as these are the next figures. For table, we group out data in this way. In body 1, housing in France, Germany, UK, in comparison to Turkey and Spain, and food and drink in Turkey and Spain, in comparison to France, Germany, UK, while in body 2, clothing in France and Spain, and entertainment and Germany, in comparison to UK and Turkey. In bar graph, we can divide our body paragraph in this way. For body 1, it will describe male in skilled vocational diploma in comparison to female in the same category, and male in postgraduate diploma and master's degree in comparison to women. In body 2, female in undergraduate diploma in comparison to male, and female having bachelor's degree in comparison to male. This is also an example of a static line graph. Although this is uncommon, this is how we can group our data. For body 1, it will be about age 19 in comparison to age 15. In body 2, age 16 in comparison to 17 and 18. You just have to remember that in static graphs, always look at the highest and the lowest figure and second highest and similar figures. Well, this brings us to the next part of the lesson, which is describing dynamic graphs. As I said earlier, dynamic graphs are graphs that show data over time. Dynamic graphs have various types. We have graphs having time periods in the past, graphs with past, present, and future in one graph, and the last is the combination of both past and future. Moving on to writing the introduction, Our strategy is similar with the static graphs that use synonym, word form, sentence structure, and combination. But since we study dynamic graphs now, we have to emphasize the graph's time periods. For the first strategy, using synonym, this is the prompt. The line graph below gives the information on cinema attendance in the UK, and this is how we paraphrase it. The line graph illustrates the data about the cinema audience in the UK. We have to remove the word below since we will not have the given graph when we write a report in the official test. We change the verb gives to illustrates, and the word information is changed to data, and the word attendance to audience. Clearly, we added the time period expressions in the course of 20 years from 1990, or in a span of 20 years from 1990, or from 1990 to 2010, or between 1990 and 2010, because it is a dynamic graph. For the word form strategy, we just change the word attendance to attending, then use the time expressions. The prompt, the line graph below gives the information on cinema attendance in the UK, is paraphrased to, the line graph gives the percentage of people attending cinema in the UK in the course of 20 years from 1990, or in a span of 20 years from 1990, or from 1990 to 2010, or between 1990 and 2010. In the sentence structure strategy for writing an introduction, we just have to change the passive voice sentence into an active voice sentence. So, the line graph below gives the information on cinema attendance in the UK is changed into the information on cinema attendance in the UK is given in the line graph. Since our goal is to get a mark of 9.0, we have to use the combination strategy using all the three strategies mentioned earlier. So the line graph below gives the information on cinema attendance in the UK is written as the data about the rate of cinema audience by age group in the UK in the course of 20 years from 1990 is indicated in the line graph. So that's how simple it is to write an introduction with a 9.0 mark. Moving on to overview, you just have to remember two things. First is to highlight the main features, which are the trend and the highest. The second one is to identify the given periods or years. You have to check if it is in the past only or a combination of past and future or past, present, and future. Here, we can see given examples on how to write an overview and different kinds of graphs with various time periods. For the line graph, we see that it has fluctuations and upward trends, so this is our overview. Overall, the rate of all age groups who watched cinema saw fluctuations and upward trends during the period, in addition to an all-time high of people who are 44 to 55 years old. For the table, we indicate the increase and decrease as well as the highest among the given categories. So this is the overview. Generally, the rate of all categories rose except for making calls, which still remained the highest among all categories from 2006 to 2010. For some dynamic graphs, with a combination of past and future, or past, present, and future, we just focus on the trend and the highest, which are in the future, so the grammar or verb form will not be confusing. For the bar graph, we mentioned the two different trends in the future, so the overview is, in general, the values of international tourism and dairy products are set to continue growing in 2025. while that of meat will be dropping at the same time. For the pie graphs, we focus on the trends of all age groups in both countries and put the same trends together in the year 2050. So this is the overview. Generally, the population of 15 to 59 and 60 age groups in Yemen is expected to rise in 2050, but the number of people aged 0 to 14 years old is anticipated to fall. It is evident that in Italy, the figure of 0 to 14 years old and 15 to 59 years old are set to decline, while that of 60 and above will increase by 2050. Moreover, for the body paragraphs, we have to divide it into two body paragraphs. To organize the data in the given graphs, we can use three strategies, but you have to identify which strategy is the most suitable for you. You can put same trends together, divide according to time scales, or divide according to categories. You also have to make comparisons to use complex sentence structures easily. If you would like to practice how to write complex sentences for writing task 1, you can watch the link below to master the complex sentence patterns for writing task 1. If you want to put same trends together, you can divide your body 1 and body 2 like this. For the line graph, we can put the two highest categories in body 1 and the other two in body 2, since all had an increasing trend. However, in table, the highest decreased and all the others increased. So we put the category that decreased in body 1 and the rest is in body 2. In this graph, the two categories that increase are in body 1 and the one that decrease is in body 2. If dividing according to time scales is easier for you, you can organize your body 1 and body 2 like these graphs. In line graph, 1990 to 2000 are in body 1, while 2005 to 2010 are in body 2. In the table, all categories in 2006 to 2008 are in body 1, while same categories in 2010 are in body 2, though you do not need to include all the given categories in your report. For the bar graph, all the categories in 2000 and 2019 are in body 1, and the same categories in 2025 are in body 2. For the pie graph, we put the data of 2000 in body 1 and all the data in 2050 are in body 2. The last strategy is to divide the data according to categories. In the line graph, we divided it according to the given age groups. The two youngest in body 1 and the two oldest are in body 2. In the table, we put the first three categories in body 1 and the last four categories are in body 2. Additionally, for this bar graph, we put international tourism and dairy products in body 1 and meat products for body 2. Meanwhile, in the pie graph, Yemen is in body 1 and Italy is in body 2. So that is the basic structures that you have to know in writing task 1 graphs to get 9.0. If you would like to learn about the basic structures for process and maps, please check the link below and subscribe to our channel so you will be updated for our upcoming videos. Also, we have a more detailed video lesson on how to write specific graphs both in static and dynamic. Thank you for studying with us.